Hello, this is Janae with J Navi. And before we get started, make sure you like, comment, and subscribe to my channel and turn on the post notifications to be notified every time I drop a video. So we're going right on in with my Benefit Brow Pencil in the number 5. As you can see, her brows are already thick and full. And the only thing that I'm doing here is just outlining her underneath of her brows and just filling in the little sparse areas. Just light hair strokes, nothing too major, nothing too deep, just lightly filling in where she needs a little bit more hair. Then I'm going in with my NYX brow gel to tame her brow hairs and kind of give it a little bit of brown tint instead of making them just so dark. After I'm done taming the brows, I go in with my AJ Crimson foundation palette. Now, you might be wondering why I'm using foundation instead of a concealer. Well, just to be honest, no other reason other than it's just closer to her skin tone. That's it. Normally, I use a concealer to conceal under the brows and around the brows, but because more fair skin, this is the color that's more closer to her skin tone, so I'm just using what I have. So now you see me going onto the lid and I am going around the brow. Notice that I'm using the exact same color that I used on the eyelid to fill around the brow. Normally I don't go in with a foundation color when I do this. I normally go around the brows with all the same shade. But when I get ready to do the foundation, I will do the same thing. Just take my concealer brush and go around the brow with the foundation, and it just blends right on in. You never see a halo brow. So right now I'm using a Real Techniques brush. I'm not sure what this brush is called, but it's a little fluffy brush. I think it's a blending brush actually. And I'm just blending out that foundation that's on her brows and around her brows to give it like a flat base and make it more even. Now that that's blended in, I am using my MAC Painterly Paint Pot. Actually, I think this is soft ochre, but it is my MAC Paint Pot. And I'm setting the paint pot and the foundation with my translucent powder by Laura Mercier. Now guys, I know this may look crazy and I'm going a little wild, but there's a method to my madness. Right now I'm going in with my Juvia's Place Warrior palette and I'm using that dark shade. And this is pretty much like a transition color, but it doesn't appear to be so. But I'm going in kind of wild with it. I'm not trying to make it perfect because I am going to go back in with a more fluffier blending brush. But when I tell you, you definitely have to trust the process with this. Trust the process. So in that same Warrior palette, I'm using that lighter brown shade and I'm blending out that dark brown shade. Now, again, trust the process. I kind of question it myself, so to speak, but as I was blending it out, I realized I should not have been using circular motions. I should have been using patting motions. So what you see me doing here is I am using that really light beigey shade to blend out that brown shade. And you'll see me constantly going in between the dark shade, the brown shade, and the light shade. And now you see me, I switch brushes and I'm using a more fluffier brush to blend out that brown shade. And I'm using circular motions to go in with that even lighter brown shade, following that by the light beigey shade. And you see me just going over it, trying to fluff it out and make sure I blend it out. Now, it may not look too blended right here, but trust the process. So I'm going in with a black shadow. This is from my Jaclyn Hill palette. And I'm using that black shadow because actually the look that this is inspired by, it is black. But I didn't want to go right in with the black. That's the reason why I use the dark brown. So the same brush that I applied that dark brown with, I am blending that black out with. So you see me going between swiping and patting motions. I'm doing circular motions and patting motions. And here is kind of when I decided, you know what, definitely going to start using the patting to blend out versus the circular motions to blend it out. And I'm steady blending out that black. Like I said, I'm switching between the brushes with each color. Now I'm applying that same shade that I used to highlight under her brows to just kind of clean up that little lid area, because I'm about to apply a different shade. Also using that same brush that I applied the concealer with and blending that concealer out with, and putting that paint pot with to blend out that extra additional, what is that? Foundation. So in that same Warrior palette, I am using that beigey shade that I used on the brow bone, and I'm using that in the inner corner of the eye. So back to that Jaclyn Hill palette, I'm using that mustardy, yellowy, orangey color. And you see me, I have both shades on both sides of the brush. So I have the yellow shade on one side, and then I pat the white shade, and I use the white shade to blend in between. And in that same Jaclyn Hill palette, it's like a darker brown, but a little bit more red tone. I'm using that to blend in between the yellow and the black. So cleaning up under her brows, I'm then coming back with a shimmery shade, that kind of whitish shimmery shade that's in that Jaclyn Hill palette, just to give a inner corner highlight. I'm not sure what these lashes are, but I did get these from my local beauty supply store. And after I applied them to her, I realized that I really, really love these lashes. I'm definitely going back to go get more pairs so I can use them on my clients. So going in with just a basic gel liner in black. Normally I would use Inglot, but this time I'm just using just a basic black gel liner. I'm not sure the brand, but I do believe that I got this from Ulta, but it works just fine. And I'm also going in with that same gel liner on her tear duct area. So now that that's applied, I'm going in with a moisturizer. Now guys, it doesn't matter what the skin type is like, you always need to go in with a moisturizer on your client before you do anything else. So I'm just blending in that moisturizer before I go in with my Milk Hydro Grip. And that's what you see me applying right now. That's the primer that I use on all my clients, is the Milk Hydro Grip, because it is the best for foundation, period. You have to get you Milk Hydro Grip. Get you some Milk Hydro Grip. You would thank me later. It'll step up your game as far as your foundation looks. So now that I've applied that Milk Hydro Grip, I'm going back in with that AJ Crimson palette. It has 6 different shades of more fair tone, skin tone shades. So I'm going in and I'm mixing 2 different colors. One of them is a little lighter. I don't believe they actually have names on them, but one is a little lighter fair skin. And then I went in after I put all of these little hash marks all over her face and put just a little bit more of a tan color, because you see in her skin she has a little bit of tan tones, but as her neck it's a little bit lighter. So you see me putting the fair tone and then the tan color, and mixing those together is her perfect shade, as you will see here in a second. Just spritzing her face lightly with the Mario Badescu water. What is it? Mario Badescu setting spray? Just give her face a little mist, just so it allow me to blend out her face a little bit more seamlessly without drying it out too fast. And you'll see here in a second that I will take my brush and go around her brows like I said. We don't want a halo brow, so I just take what's left over and just blend that over that concealer area, so you don't see any spots to where I went around her brow with the lighter color. And once that foundation is completely blended out with my brush, I will go back in with a wet beauty blender and blend it out further. You may not know this, but this step is very imperative. Why? Because that wet beauty blender makes that foundation look like skin. So even if you apply it with a brush, you want to go back in with that beauty blender and it blends right into the skin and makes it look like skin instead of foundation sitting on top of the skin. And guys, don't forget to go down her neck. Now here is where I'm actually going in with a concealer. I am using my Tarte Shape Tape. Now look, don't ask me what color. I just know it's a beige. I don't know. And I didn't get it in the big one because I don't really have fair skin clients. So I got the more travel-ish size of these tones. I got a couple of them. I just wanted to make sure that I had concealers for everybody, but I didn't want to get a big one because I don't normally have fair skin clients. So this is a more beigey tone concealer, just to highlight underneath her eyes, her chin, her nose, and underneath her lip. And I do allow that to sit there for a second and dry out, and go in with my nose contour and contour her cheeks and her forehead before I blend that out. As you can see, this is also a Tarte Shape Tape, but I believe this is in Tan Sand. I do use that shade a lot, so I do know what that is. That is Tan Sand. And I'm using the butt of my beauty sponge to blend out my contour. Now, I do have brushes that are normally used for blending out contour, but I find that it looks a little less sculpted when I use the beauty blender to blend out the contour. The color is still there, but it's not as chiseled and not as harsh when you use the beauty blender to blend it out. So I'm going in with the Real Technique setting brush to blend out the concealer, and then following it with my foundation brush to blend out the edges, because you don't want a harsh line, so you only want to blend out the edges of where you concealed with your foundation brush after you blend in the concealer. And also with this, guys, I do use the beauty blender to blend under the eyes as well. Like I said, you want it to look like skin. When you use the brush, it gives more coverage, and then following it with the beauty sponge allows it to soak in the skin like skin. So I didn't think her highlight was light enough, so just in that inner corner right there, I put an even lighter tone of the Shape Tape just in that tear duct area, nowhere else, and kind of blend it just solely in that area. Now, it may not look like it's blended out here, guys, but I promise you, when you see the finished result, it is completely blended. So first I'm going in with the, no, that's not Sasha. That is the Laura Mercier, excuse me. I'm going in with the Laura Mercier translucent powder, and I'm just pressing that underneath her eyes in the areas where I highlighted at. Then I go back in a little bit more with quite a bit more setting powder, and I'm baking in that area. So first you want to just press it in, and then you want to put powder down to bake in that area. The reason being is that it allows it to just sit there without being too harsh. Because if I would have went right in with baking, it would be too bright. But allowing it to just set first and then go back in with the translucent powder, it just allows it to kind of like just be the barrier in between. And also I am going with the under eye color, so I need that there to catch the fallout. So I'm going in with my Morphe bronzer. I'm not sure the shade of this, but I believe it's Trailblazer. But it's one of my more lighter tones. It works perfect for her tan skin, her tan brown skin. Then I went in with my Juvia's Place palette, and I use a mixture of two shades. It's like a more peachy shade and a pinky shade to do her blush. I'm also going in with that same bronzer that I used on her cheeks to bronze up her nose, give her a little contour there. So I have some, what is that brand called? It's a British brand. I'll think of it later, but they have a boatload. Beauty Bay. Beauty Bay. Beauty Bay has palettes, and one of them is a very colorful, vibrant palette. And I'm going in with the green from that Beauty Bay palette. And then I'm using a small blending brush to blend out that green. I just giving it a pop of color. So now I'm going in with my Morphe setting powder. This is number 4, and I'm using the number 4 to blend out and dust off that additional setting powder off her face and set the areas where her foundation is. I found that this is I actually bought these shades for under eye highlight powder, but because she's so fair, this is a perfect skin tone shade for her tone. I don't think I said that right, but this is the perfect shade for her skin tone for all over setting powder. That's what it is. I said it correctly. Now, as you see me, I'm kind of dusting off of that setting powder only because there's fallout from the light shimmery shade that I put on top of that green. So I'm dusting it off, and then I'm going back in with shade number 2 to give a little bit more of a pop underneath the eye. So it's a little bit lighter. Going in with my Anastasia Beverly Hills highlighting palette. Just giving her a little shimmer on her cheek. Just dusting a little on her nose and her little forehead. I feel like I lost a little bit of the bronzing, so I went back in with my bronzer. Now guys, this is where I felt like I might not post this video, but I'm going to post it anyway because, you know, sometimes you got to admit failures and weaknesses. Now, I love her overall. Now, remember I said trust the process? You never would have thought we would have got here with the eyes, but they are perfect. Now, this is where I felt like I went wrong. On her lips, I went in with the wrong. I put on chestnut and I thought that I picked up cork. So I never meant to go with this shade. That was my first mistake. I didn't brush it off because it looked fine in person, but you know, I was like telling myself, just trust it, just keep going. You can make it work. So I'm going in with the Anastasia Beverly Hills strip, and I am just going in under her lips. Now I did overline her lips. I never do that. I was trying to give her bigger lips because I don't ever do that. But this is a lesson for me. Like, this is a true lesson for me on these lips. So then I went in with a lighter concealer. I was going to do an ombre, but then it was too much. So now I'm blending in the liquid lipstick with the concealer, and it's more of a lighter shade. And I should have blended it out more and then just stopped here. I didn't. I don't know why I didn't, but I didn't. And like I said, you know, as a makeup artist, you learn that what's your strengths, what's your weaknesses, where you can improve, and this is where I went wrong. But I did go around the lips. I'm outlining around the lips to bring it out a little bit more. And here's where I discovered that I didn't go in with the cork. So let me go back in with the cork. Maybe I can fix this lip. With the cork, outline the lips, and I'm using my brush to kind of blend it out. I wish I could have blended it out a little bit more because it still looks too harsh for me. This lip looks fine for most. It's not for me. So I sprayed her face with the Morphe setting spray. That was a limited edition strawberry scent. And I'm going in with my mascara because I didn't go in with mascara when I applied her lashes. And make sure you do not forget to apply mascara. It makes a world of a difference, especially when you go in with bottom mascara. It makes that eye pop. You see how much that changed by just putting that mascara on the bottom? It looks so much better. And this is her final reveal. As you can see, she really loves this look. I didn't like the lips, but she really liked the look. guys, because I went in with multiple sprays, I went in with Morphe setting spray. I also went in with the Morphe dewy spray. It gave her a really good shine, and it makes you dewy looking. So after I've done all of that, you will see in this last clip that I went back over those dewy areas with setting powder just so it'll knock off the shine. And this is the final look. Thank you guys for watching, and don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe, and turn on the notifications so you can be notified every time I post a video. Thanks guys, love you. Can't get you out of my mind. It's like I feel it for the first